This is the Hobie Pro Angler 12, a 2017 model. Review after 100 trips. So this is my 101st trip in it, and give you the pros and cons of the boat. There's not too many cons, I tell you, and those are all subjective, but the pros are unbelievable. This is a fantastic fishing machine. So one of the pros about this Hobie Pro Angler 12 is, man, you can cover some ground. So I just went about a mile in maybe 7 to 10 minutes, if that, and not even really stroking hard. If you really stroke hard, you kind of overstroke the boat. A nice steady slow stroke on the pedals, and these things move out even in high wind and high wave conditions. So definitely a pro is the speed of the boat, the handling. They turn, agility and all, as far as that, they turn really well. Stability is fantastic. I'm 6 foot and 290, and I've made 100 trips and managed to stay upright so far. I don't want to jinx myself, but haven't rolled it yet. So definitely another pro, stability. I'm a good 2 miles to 2.5 miles into this trip already this morning, and it's only 7:30. So I usually cover somewhere between 5 to 8 miles in a day of fishing in it, and not exhausted or nothing. Once you make a couple trips in it and you build up the muscles that are used in the action, nothing to it. I'm 60 years old, and no problems whatsoever using this boat. So economy for the Pro Angler 12, it takes about 16 ounces of coffee to run this thing 5 to 6 hours in the morning, and then after that a little splash of about 12 ounces of Gatorade. So definitely a pro, economy, very cheap to operate. So one of the things you can do with the Hobie that you can't do with the propeller drives is you can get right against the marsh, go to reverse, and back right out. If the water's too shallow, you can just do a short little flutter like this. But when it's deep, you can do all you want. So you go down these little shallow trenasses with a propeller drive, and the propeller, the depth is the depth. You get into shallow water with a Hobie Mirage drive, you can just stroke it like this, and the flaps are just going right against the hull, only drawing 2 or 3 inches of water. So you can't do this little flutter motion with a propeller drive. The depth of the propeller is the depth of the propeller. The Mirage drive is more versatile in shallow water. One thing about the Mirage drive compared to the pedal kayaks, if you look, my legs are low at a nice slow stroke area. The pedal kayaks, most of them they rotate, so you have to raise your knees on every stroke. So I'm not knocking them, they're good, I've tried them, but I prefer the Mirage drive. Another plus of the Mirage drive compared to the propeller ones is the propeller ones get in grass, they just wrap up and bundle up, and it's a chore. You got to keep pulling them out and cleaning them. The Hobie Mirage drive, if you get in hydrilla and fresh water, or turtle grass and salt water, or whatever type of grass, you can just keep stroking and they self-clear. So you can see a big old patch of hydrilla and you can just go right through it with a little bit of effort, and the Mirage drive will clear itself. You don't even have to pull it out to clean it like you do the propeller types. So the Hobie Mirage drive has a lot of advantages to the propellers. They're lighter, they're smaller, they'll self-clear in grass with the reverse. The 180 reverse model is really nice. Now a con to it is the expense. They're very expensive, and I'm always constantly running into cypress knees and oyster shells, and I've already replaced my fins, but they only run about $20–25 a piece, so it's not like it's a major expense. So the Hobie Mirage drive, definitely pro. So one of the best things about the Hobie is the seat and the adjustability. So on this side you can adjust the back, forward and back, and on the right side you can adjust the base up and down, and then there's also a lumbar support that you can tighten. So the seat is unbelievably comfortable. I started kayak fishing and sat on top kayaks, and after 2 hours you were just totally miserable. I've spent as much as 9 hours straight in this boat and haven't had a problem. There's also a seat pull rope that you can take the tension off, pull it, and then the whole seat drops down to get you down out of the wind when you're paddling or on high wind days. But I keep the seat in the high position almost all the time. It's just my preference. It's what I like. So definitely a pro is the adjustability of the seat and the comfort. It's unbelievable. You could stay all day in the boat without ever having to get out, no problem whatsoever. One of the pros of the newer models, Pro Anglers, is this Skeg that's retractable. So a lot of my friends don't use it. I leave mine down almost all the time, and with the Skeg down it tracks extremely straight. Now at very slow speeds it doesn't want to turn good with the Skeg down, but that's the design of it, is to keep you tracking straight. So the Skeg and the Rudder are both spring loaded also, so if you get in shallow water they just fold up and pop back down as needed. So definitely a good system, the Skeg, to help you track straighter. One of the big time pros of this boat is on a windy day you can go directly into the wind and track straight and true. So like with your paddle kayaks, you know, you're constantly zigzagging and fighting it unless you have a rudder. Well, this one with the Skeg and the Rudder, on a windy day, track straight and true any direction you want to go. So you can see this boat handles well in less than ideal conditions. I can keep it kind of pointing into the wind and still fish with these waves coming in and the wind blowing directly at me. If I had a paddle kayak right now I wouldn't be able to manage the rod and the boat. Definitely one of the major bonuses of the Hobie is the paddle kayak, you're kayaking and fishing every once in a while. In a Hobie you're fishing constantly the whole time. So you can see I was able to work that whole little section of shoreline, keep my boat pointed into the wind, and make casts right along the marsh edge. Can't do that with a paddle kayak. So with the Hobie in high wind conditions you can manage a fish and the boat. He looks like he's going to be a little small. Try to manage the fish and the wind. Well, if the weather conditions change on you in a Hobie and it blows up a little bit, no problem. Very stable. So I'll quarter the wind on my way back in here. I took it out of Lake Pontchartrain once, and a lot bigger rollers than this, and it was no problem there either. So this is just a windy little light chop aggravation here. So one thing about the Hobie, although it's designed to be pedaled mostly, it actually paddles extremely well for a small boat. When I get into shallow ponds and all, I'll hook my kayak paddle together, take the T-handle off, snap the two pieces together, and paddle away up into the shallows chasing tail and reds. When it comes to launch and recovery, I pull my rudder up, pull my Skeg up, pop the drive out, and then I use the T-handle and half the paddle to launch and recover the kayak. Super easy. So although it designed to be pedaled, it paddles pretty well. So when you go to recover the kayak, it's easiest to back it in, since that's how you're going to load it on the truck, and then just grab it and pull it up on the bank a little. So when we talk about storage, I keep my keys and wallet on a waterproof Plano box right here. We got tackle storage under the seat. There's room for 4 of them if you want. Up here in the bow, I keep a bag with all my soft baits, a little bucket with a cast net in it, extra measure, a little launch and retrieving rope, a knife, of course toilet paper. And then underneath the dry hatch I keep a pump, a spare fin, and a spare rod. This one will take on water if it flips or rolls. In 2019 they started double sealing these hatches, which is no big deal, but just plenty storage up there for whatever you need. There's as many different rod storage ideas as there are people with kayaks. I like a 48 quart ice chest, and my arms are long enough to reach the rods from the back. So I got 4 rod holders mounted on the back. With a 48 quart box, I can carry 20 pounds of ice in the summer and 10 pounds in the winter. I like a Hobie style rod holder on my left side just to hold a rod static for retrieving fish and all. And on the right side I use a Ram 2007. I like that one for trolling, infinitely adjustable. And you can move them all up and down the rod rails, the H rails, however you want. So here's one of the main cons of the Pro Angler, is its weight. It's still manageable to do with one person. Get it in the truck. And away we go. So this one weighs 90 pounds. And not too much to handle, but it is a chore. Transport really well. I tie a safety rope on it here, just as a secondary. I put a flag on the bow hanging out the back for transportation. Secure it into the truck. I take 1 2-inch strap, go through the drive hole, secure it to this side. That's all I do to secure it. It's nice and easy to transport. So one of the cons on the boat is abrasion resistance. So I'm in an area that's full of oyster shells and all, so we get a few scratches, nothing drastic. Hobie should come up with some kind of reinforcement for this very bow tip that takes the brunt. So if you're listening, Hobie, help us out here. For safety, I like a bright colored shirt, either yellow, orange, bright blue, and I like that Yak Attack flag and light all in one. I've tried all different kind of homemade lights and stuff, and that's the best. And then I like the bright yellow colored kayak. You can see this thing for miles across the bay. My son has a camouflage one, and he has a lot of trouble with boats seeing them. And the dunes and green colored ones don't show up as good either. So safety, nice bright running light at night, bright colored kayak, bright colored clothes, and a little flag. So I'm doing a pros and cons video on a Hobie Pro Angler 12, and this is one of the big pros right here. Throw it right in the back of a truck. Ponds, lakes, creeks, anywhere where you can pull a truck up next to, you can launch it and you can be fishing. You don't have to drag a trailer around and all the hassles of pulling a trailer and trailer lights and parking and traffic and all. Real convenient. Only con to that is it's heavy, loading in and out of the back of a pickup truck. And this is a 2014 truck. These modern trucks are so high, it's unbelievable. So I love that boat. I'll give it an A+, 100% rating. If anything ever happens to it, I'll be at a Hobie dealer the next day buying another one. So till the next video, get out there and buy you a Pro Angler.